All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty Nefaro, where we have a special guest, Mr. John Mulrooney.
Special.
Part of the indie music TV family, and poor John didn't realize he was on a wrestling show, but he is, and so we're going to talk a little wrestling, and John's going to weigh in along with you, Faro. You're having a good old time.
I'm loving it.
I was just telling everybody on the break, this is my nightmare. I'm stuck between two comedians.
Well, they're not bad comedians, so that's your...
You're actually both very funny.
That's your happy dream.
You're actually both very funny.
If we were auditioners, you'd be fucked. Thankfully, we're working.
Hello.
I'm sorry.
So guys,
I can't say auditioner?
No, you can.
All right.
Wrestler Chris Jericho shares video of niece being brutally attacked by bullies and demands action from school. Wrestling great Chris Jericho has a shared video of his niece being incessantly bullied and by fellow students and called out school authorities in Florida to take action. Guys, you want to weigh in? I don't know if you know Chris Jericho. You do. Weigh in on that, and I'll just start the conversation with, this is a pro wrestler who spends his days beating up people, I understand, fakely, but with baseball bats, but now he's offended because his niece is getting the shit kicked out of her. Gentlemen?
Well, I just want to know if you have any happy stories.
No.
No, it's all. Well, we'll talk about people getting beat up.
No, elaborate.
What are you going to say to a father who's someone puts their hand on their daughter? You know, this again, sacred topics that are being, someone's crashing that gate. In my opinion, we need a little bit more of the cops looking the other way and letting dad go do what he's got to do.
Sure.
I got to tell you, you guys know I'm a police officer.
Sure.
In my other life.
And thank you for your service, by the way.
And thank you for yours. I heard you were a combat veteran.
Thank you.
That's
I got kicked out of high school. Thank me too.
Yeah, thank you for not graduating, because
You're welcome.
You really
Look,
kept.
you just found your opening act. There he is. Jimmy Farrow.
Oh, please.
You've kept the level of the show right where we need it to be.
There we go.
Yeah,
There we
I
go.
can't even spell GED.
Does it start with an E?
No, she spelled it. I got a GED hanging on my wall. Do you know people are or have been? You notice we're running through cycles with the news and with who we're going to blame next and all this other bullshit. So the cops, they've seemed to have to some degree cooled off on police, and now they're hyper focusing on our guns, which in my opinion is all on purpose to keep us distracted from what's really going on. But maybe we'll get to that in a second. But my point is this: I don't want to even call it a tool. The one thing that we have as police officers that most people don't realize is discretion when it comes to, quote unquote, enforcing the law. We don't have to arrest people that obviously break a law. Believe it or not, we have discretion.
Okay.
I have, and I'm going to say this, I'm probably going to get in trouble, but you know what? This is one of those places where I don't give a shit. I have pulled over many people that were obvious should not have been should not have been driving for numbers of reasons, and I went old school on them, pulled them out of the vehicle, got them a driver, or got the car towed home, brought them back home, took their keys, followed up the next day, and read them the riot act. That is within my purview to do that. Everybody that wants to think that they're a police officer and they want the video and they want you to do this, and that's just one example of discretion. And they know, listen, you're taking police officers' discretion away from their ability to deal with you on the street as a human being. The Constitution says that the law is to be used equally amongst all people. So if I have equal discretion with everybody, it means that I catch the one person that might have had one too many at the party and made a bad decision to drive home, and I take them home and bring their car back. Then I find the chronic alcoholic, and I slam that person with a felony DWI because they had a 15-year-old in the car. Okay? That was my call.
Right.
And I'll stand by it. They were good calls. But the public is being robbed right now because every cop that I know of is scared shitless to make a decision that's going to maybe get them jammed up. They're all afraid of losing their jobs. And guess who's suffering?
That's right.
You guys watching.
Agreed.
You guys watching right now are suffering. You have no idea what we deal with as police officers on a daily basis, and I'm looking right at the camera, and some of you scumbags know who I'm talking about. Talking to the two guys at the desk. No, I'm like, but yeah, they've taken.
But back to the subject at hand on the bullying. Here you have a very famous professional wrestler whose niece is getting the shit kicked out of her, and he's going to Twitter and posting the video. 802 Blue says out there, bullying was part of life growing up. It's either you deal with it or do something about it. I mean, what happened to today's society? You can't stand up for yourself. You need your famous wrestler to go post Twitter. I mean, bullying, Pharaoh?
Well, as you know, I wasn't exactly Captain Popular back in school. I was more of a back hall kid. I was not part of the football team. And I dealt with quite a bit of bullying growing up till I basically picked up a chair and threw it at somebody. And all of a sudden, the bullying stopped. Now, I'm not recommending that, by the way, for you folks at home who are having problems. But for me, it was like, all right, that's enough of this shit. What I will say, though, is in this particular case, what's going on with Jericho's niece, I do believe. Oh, and I'll ask you, John, is the schooling system intimidated themselves that this sort of bullying happens? Like, I think this attack was on the school property or right outside of it. Like, is the principal and the teachers almost afraid to even get involved?
I'm sorry, we need to make a correction. Do you mean the indoctrination system?
Yeah, the indoctrination. Yes.
Because it's not an education system. And to your point, my opinion.
After what they did with me, I agree. Go ahead.
And to your point about the bullying, I wouldn't say that it's okay. I'm not behind a guy getting on there and saying, I'm going to, I'm bigger and badder and I'm going to kick your ass. But I will say this. I've been bullied. Who hasn't been bullied?
Sure,
okay?
Sure.
And your own worst bully, let's get back to what we were saying earlier, is right here in your head.
Oh,
if anyone in the street said to you what you say to yourself, you would have them arrested. But you say it to yourself. And guess what happens? This is how life works. What shows up in your life? A person, place, or thing that reflects the things you were saying to yourself. So the bully shows up, and like you said, at some point, you get up, you throw the chair, or you throw the punch, or you stand your ground, and what happens? Something miraculous.
Yeah.
You grow the fuck up, and you find your power.
Right.
Dino Luzzi energy drinks. Find your power. Right, but how many great lessons did the bully teach you? We can't bully the bullies to the extent and make them the scapegoat. Right. Okay, they're just, in my opinion, they're the symbol of a much bigger, of a much larger issue. And bullies serve a purpose. I'm not saying we should let them get away with it, but I remember the day too when I finally stood up and I said, I was probably 7, 8 years old. I got tired of getting my ass kicked, and I said to myself, no more. Now, because of conditioning and habituation, for a while, it kept on going, but only for a while. And the few times I stood my ground, as scared as I was, and squared off with the bullies, something strange happened. The bullies, even when they were with their buddies, saw me coming and suddenly decided to go the other way. Because they knew that the little kid that lived over at 15 Veronica Place wasn't going to lay down and take a beating. That they might get hit back a couple of times. And it changed. Everything changed. So, I'm not endorsing bullying, but to outright say, bullying is the problem. That is not the problem. Learning to stand up for yourself is the problem. And back to the other point we were making earlier, this to me also is a spiritual issue in that we got disconnected from the wisdom, the inner wisdom that teaches and guides all of us. We have been disconnected from that for at least a generation at this point, and it's been slowly being cut off. And now here we are finally, where we don't know what to do. Nobody knows what to do, but the answer has not left its source. It's right here.